Your last meal ends. The clock starts. And somewhere inside you, a process begins that most people never think about because most people never have to. A process your body has rehearsed for hundreds of thousands of years, long before refrigerators, long before grocery stores, long before 3 guaranteed meals a day was ever a realistic expectation for anyone. Within 24 hours of no food, your body isn't panicking, it's executing a plan, an old one, a good one. And understanding that plan tells you something surprising about what your body actually thinks normal looks like. The first few hours after eating are quiet, biologically speaking. Your body is still absorbing the meal, using glucose from your bloodstream for fuel, the same way it always does. But somewhere between 4 and 6 hours after your last bite, digestion finishes and your blood sugar begins to drop. This is the moment the ancient system switches on. Your liver holds a reserve. It's called glycogen, a stored form of glucose, packed away for exactly this situation. As blood sugar falls, your pancreas reduces insulin output and increases a hormone called glucagon, which signals the liver to start breaking that glycogen back down into usable sugar and releasing it into your blood. This process is called glycogenolysis, and it's essentially your body cashing in a savings account it filled earlier in the day. Here's the important part: that savings account is small. Researchers studying human metabolism estimate the liver holds only enough glycogen to fuel the body for roughly 12 to 24 hours, depending on activity level and body size. It was never designed to last much longer than a day. Why would it need to? For most of human history, going a single day without food was common. Going a week was rare and dangerous, and the body's short term reserve reflects exactly that expectation. So, what happens once that 12 to 24-hour window starts closing? This is where the first 24 hours of starvation gets genuinely interesting. As liver glycogen runs low, your body starts shifting its fuel strategy. It begins to rely more heavily on fat stores, breaking down triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol through a process called lipolysis. Fat has always been the body's long-term reserve, dense in energy, built to be slowly drawn down over days, not hours. Physiologist George Cahill, whose research in the 1960s and 70s remains foundational to how scientists understand starvation, showed that fat mobilization begins ramping up significantly within the first day without food, well before you'd consider yourself in true starvation. Meanwhile, something else is happening that most people never notice. Your brain uses roughly 20% of your body's total energy, and under normal conditions, it demands glucose almost exclusively. But glucose reserves are exactly what's running low. So the body begins protecting the brain first at nearly every other system's expense. This triggers a hormonal shift you can actually feel. Levels of a hormone called ghrelin rise sharply, and ghrelin doesn't just create the sensation of hunger, it directly signals your brain's hypothalamus to increase food-seeking behavior. This is not a metaphor. Researchers have shown that ghrelin spikes measurably within the first 24 hours of fasting, and the timing lines up almost perfectly with when hunger becomes difficult to ignore. Your body isn't guessing that you need food. It's chemically certain of it, and it's telling every part of your brain at once. Around this same window, cortisol levels begin to climb as well. Cortisol, often labeled a stress hormone, plays a more precise role here. It helps mobilize energy reserves and keeps blood sugar from crashing too far, essentially acting as a backup regulator while the body transitions fuel sources. This is one reason mild fasting can produce a strange, almost sharpened alertness in the first day. Your ancestors needed to be more focused when food was scarce, not less. A hungry, lethargic hunter-gatherer caught nothing. A hungry, alert one had a chance. Here's a question worth pausing on. If your body handles the first 24 hours this smoothly, this automatically, what does that tell you about how often this must have happened before? It tells you this wasn't rare. Anthropological research into hunter gatherer societies, including long term studies of groups like the Hadza in Tanzania, has documented significant day to day variability in food availability, with periods of surplus followed by periods of real scarcity. Feast and famine weren't exceptions to the rule, they largely were the rule. The body you're walking around in today was fine tuned across those exact conditions, generation after generation, until fasting for a day became something it could handle almost on autopilot. Contrast that with your actual daily experience. Food is available within arm's reach almost constantly. A missed lunch feels like an emergency. A skipped breakfast can trigger irritability strong enough to affect your mood for hours. This isn't weakness. It's a highly capable ancient system reacting exactly the way it evolved to react, just deployed far more rarely and far more dramatically than it was ever meant to be. By hour 18 to 24, most of the acute signals are in full swing. Glycogen reserves are nearly depleted. Fat metabolism is ramping up to compensate. Ghrelin is elevated. Cortisol is elevated. And yet, physiologically, your body is not in crisis. It's in a well rehearsed transitional state, one it can sustain for days if it has to, drawing progressively more from fat reserves as glycogen fully empties. What's remarkable is how unremarkable this all is, biologically speaking. This entire 24-hour sequence, the hormonal shifts, the fuel switching, the mounting hunger signals, runs almost entirely without your conscious input. You don't manage it, you just feel its effects. A rumbling stomach, a slight edge of irritability, a creeping difficulty concentrating on anything except your next meal. Every one of those sensations is a message from a system built for a world where that message needed to be loud enough to send you out looking for food immediately without hesitation. That's the modern mirror worth sitting with. The gnawing, distracted, slightly irritable feeling of a skipped meal isn't your body malfunctioning. It's the same alarm that once sent a hunter-gatherer out at dawn to track, forage, and search. Because standing still and waiting was never a survival strategy. Hunger was never designed to feel comfortable. It was designed to move you. So the next time a single missed meal leaves you shorter tempered than you'd like to admit, remember what's actually happening underneath. Your liver is finishing its reserves, your fat stores are stepping in, your brain is being protected first, at real cost to the rest of you. And somewhere in that chemistry is a hunter-gatherer's most basic instruction, echoing forward across 100,000 years. Go find food. You just happen to be standing 3 feet from a refrigerator.